Hey, if you speak Portuguese as a first language, here are some sounds that you might be mispronouncing. And these sounds might be stopping you from having more of an American accent. Before we start, I want to share with you a quick overview of my framework, a framework that I use in accent reduction. So I call it the ITFR framework, an acronym that I made up, and it starts off with identifying. So step one is to identify a sound, ideally the sound or aspect that is most obvious. That is the biggest problem, whether it be pronunciation or another aspect of your spoken English, that makes it obvious that English is not your first language. So step one is to identify that sound. Step two is to target that sound with daily practice. So you really want to rebuild that muscle memory so that you are pronouncing it more like an American, because these are pronunciation habits that we want to break. Pronunciation habits that we bring from our native language. Then it's important, I'd say, throughout the process of practicing is getting feedback to see if you actually are pronouncing the sound correctly, because you might think you're pronouncing it correctly, but if you are not, you are creating a habit of pronouncing it incorrectly, but a sound different than what you were originally pronouncing it as. So target the sound, get feedback, continue to target the sound so that it becomes more habitual, more of a habit. So you kind of are practicing getting feedback. Okay, you're practicing it right. And doing that once in a while just to make sure that you are on track, you are doing it correctly. And then once it becomes a habit in your day-to-day English, then you can get feedback, final feedback for that sound to see if you have corrected that sound. After that, you're going to repeat and find the next sound, target, get feedback, repeat, next sound. So it's a cycle. But something I want to say is that when you are working on one sound, so you are targeting the sound, there are different steps in the targeting phase. So you want to be able to hear the difference. For example, if you cannot hear the difference between the V sound and the W sound, then that's the first step. For example, if you cannot hear the difference between pull and pool, if those are the vowel sounds that you're working on, your first step is to develop that ear. So once you're able to effectively identify and hear that sound, you're going to learn how to pronounce that sound. Then you're going to practice until it becomes muscle memory and it becomes a habit that you don't really have to think about anymore, but you pronounce it correctly without thinking too much. In the beginning, you're going to have to work hard to pronounce it correctly. You might have to slow down, but eventually it will become so natural because of the repetition that it will just be a part of your new English. So now let's talk about the sounds that you may struggle with if Portuguese is your first language. First sound is the L sound. When it's at the end of the word, you might be pronouncing it more like a W sound, like a oo sound, rather than a L sound. So the tip of your tongue should be touching here in your gum ridge. So I'm going to give you an example. It's not mau. It's mall, mall, mall. It's not Brazil. What? Oh, that's a W sound. It's Brazil. Oh, Brazil. So take a look at your English and see if this is a mistake that you make. You might need a native speaker or an accent coach to listen for you, but if this is a problem, you will want to target it and focus on making the L sound instead of the W sound. And although it might not be exactly like a W, it's the closest thing that we have in English. So that's why I compare it to a W. The next problem is when a word starts with an S sound. We do not put an E in front. So we don't put Spanish, which Spanish speakers will say, or escola or escol. A school. No, it is school. Spanish. Okay, so this is another problem that you might have in your English and might be stopping you from sounding more American. So the rest of this video is going to be for members only, members of this YouTube channel and Patreon members. So if you're interested in seeing the rest of this video, please consider supporting me and my channel.